Jussie Smollett can now leave the county jail during an appeal. And the craziest thing about this is that you have a multi-millionaire that faked a hate crime that is not like he has never once admitted to him faking the hate crime, and now he's able to just walk out of the jail. So let's get right into it. Jussie Smollett was ordered released from jail Wednesday by an appeals court that agreed with his lawyers that he should be free, pending the appeal of his conviction for lying to Chicago police about a racist and homophobic attack. The decision came after Cook County judge sentenced Smollett last week to immediately begin serving 150 days in jail for his conviction of 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct for lying to police. His attorneys planned a news conference around his expected release Wednesday night. In an outburst immediately after the sentence was handed down, the former star of the TV show Empire proclaimed his innocence and said, "I am not suicidal, and if anything happens to me when I go in there, I did not do it to myself, and you must all know that." The appeals court in a 2-1 decision said Smollett could be released after posting a personal reconnaissance bond of $150,000, meaning he doesn't have to put down money, but agrees to come to court as required. So Smollett's attorneys had argued that he would have completed the sentence by the time the appeal process was completed, and that Smollett could be in danger of physical harm if he remained locked up in Cook County Jail. The Office of the Special Prosecutor called the claim that Smollett's health and safety were at risk factually incorrect in response to the motion. Noting that Smollett was being held in protective custody at the jail, Smollett was being held in his own cell and was being monitored by security cameras and an officer, the Cook County Sheriff's Office said after he began serving his sentence last week. Deputy Special Prosecutor Sean Weiber also questioned the idea of releasing Smollett because his sentence will be complete prior to an appellate court ruling, saying that under the logic, every person facing a sentence shorter than a few years would be able to remain free. That simply is not and cannot be the rule, Weber wrote. The court's decision marks the latest chapter in a strange story that began in January 2019 when Smollett, who is black and gay, reported to Chicago police that he was the victim of a racist and homophobic attack by 2 men wearing ski masks. He reported that the men assaulted him as he walked near his home in downtown Chicago to get something to eat. One of the men, Smollett said, put a noose around his neck. The manhunt for the attackers soon turned into an investigation of Smollett himself and his arrest on charges that he had orchestrated the attack and lied to police about it. The investigation revealed Smollett paid 2 men he knew from his work on Empire to stage the attack, which, by the way, apparently he had relations with one of them, at least. So a jury convicted Smollett in December on 5 felony counts of disorderly conduct, the charge filed when a person lies to police. He was acquitted on a 6th count. Judge James Lynn sentenced Smollett last week to 150 days in jail, but with good behavior he could have been released in as little as 75 days. Smollett maintained his innocence during the trial. Appellate Court Justices Thomas Hoffman and Joy Cunningham signed the order granting Smollett's request to be released, which noted he was convicted of nonviolent offenses. Justice Maureen Connors dissented. And here's the thing, right? This kind of, to me, right? This whole thing basically kind of shows how corrupt Chicago's judicial system actually is, right? Because for those that don't even know, you gotta also remember that Smollett has very powerful ties to people in the legal system, people in the government system, because he's also friends with Obama. Like, he has very powerful ties, so something like this is not out of the question of actually happening. But this kind of goes to show you, right, that like, hey, you could do something pretty heinous, but if you have the money and connections, you could probably get a slap on the wrist. Because this is basically a slap on the wrist, right? Because I mean, like, you basically lit the fire of race tension in America and then poured gasoline on it. Like were basically videotaped doing it, and then you lied about doing it, right? Like it's crazy, right? Now there's going to be people who, for some reason, believe that he is innocent, even though that would make literally no sense. But I think the craziest thing about it is that he went into jail being a millionaire. He left jail being a millionaire, and he's probably going to make even more money after all of this is said and done from like a reality TV show, some sort of movie deal again. Maybe he's going to be like some sort of like weird anchor on some sort of news site. Like it's going to get to kind of like a weird path for him, which this has already been a weird path on him for him. Like he's going to end up making probably even more money than he did while he was at Empire because of this whole situation, right? Like it's just going to be crazy. Like honestly, it's just sad to see, right? It's sad to see someone who faked a race crime to blame it on a group of people just so that he could basically get more popularity, more potential movie gigs. Like, I mean, that's basically the reason why he did this stuff, right? It's so that he could get more attention, right? And if you've seen any of the interviews of him, of when he was basically acting like he was attacked, it's really disturbing when you think about it, right? Because it's like, how little do you care about the black community? How little do you care about people who were wrongfully accused of a crime, went to jail or prison, probably even, faced the death penalty for things that they did not do? And this could have easily gone to a point where two random people that fit his description could have been arrested, gone to prison for decades, because if a real hate crime happened, that would be a harsher punishment. So they could end up facing decades, and they might have never, ever, ever even spoken to him or seen him, period, at all. Like, that's the scary thing about this, right? Like, he is going to get released for staging a fake hate crime that had the potential side effect of two innocent people potentially going to prison for decades just because they might fit his description. Now, luckily, there was never anyone actually that fit the description because he was lying through his teeth nonstop. But you could kind of see how disturbing that actually could be when you lie about something to that extent, right? But for him, financially speaking, he is 100% A-OK. He is 100% able to pay for whatever, right? Because he is a multimillionaire that really doesn't have to answer to anyone at all.